Absurd censorship this week. The publishers of the Roald Dahl's famous children's books announced a woke rewrite of the beloved author's novels. We're now going to have sensitivity readers that go through, and any content that is they consider offensive will be deleted. Words like fat and ugly, which obviously makes the book's fun to read. Now, the publishers have done a U-turn, which does happen if enough people speak up against wokeness. They've done a U-turn and said, oh, we'll publish both and then people can decide. Terrific. Joining us now is the editor of Spiked Online in the UK there, Tom Slater. Tom, great to see you as always. I hope you've been reading the latest Roald Dahl without any of the funny bits. I bet it makes for pretty grim reading if you take out all the gags.
Well, that seemed to be the substance of this rewrite. How do we take a Roald Dahl book, which are known for having a little bit of a dark edge to them, known for being a little bit spiky, a little bit rude in places, and how do we strip it of all of those things? Yes. Taking out the word fat from all of the books, so that the fat characters can't be fat shamed, presumably. The Oompa Loompas became gender neutral. It was really kind of almost comedically woke and ridiculous. It was interesting to see them backtrack and U-turn and issue these other responses. It does show you that actually standing up and making noise about these things can create a response. The problem is that so much of this is coming from within the publishing industry itself. No one signed a petition saying that they wanted Roald Dahl's books to be given this kind of woke acid wash. It was the Roald Dahl Story Company themselves who actually commissioned this particular round of sensitivity reading. So in a way, this is a good story for kind of people power, if you like, but it does show you that when it comes to this kind of woke cultural vandalism, the barbarians are very much inside the gates at this point.
James.
Well, Tom, I mean, it's one thing to save the oeuvre of Roald Dahl, but this reminds me so much of that scene in 1984 where they're basically destroying words literally so that nobody can ever have an unpleasant or seditious thought. That's what this seems to me. And when you've got this trend of sensitivity readers, doesn't this mean now that everything that's getting produced now, forget about the old canon, but everything is now being churned out, everything, from little kids to all other books, is now just being put through this woke wash, I guess you would call it. And so we wind up with no literature that doesn't fit within a certain prescribed narrative about who's good, who's bad, who's got the intersectional points, who's the victim, who's, this and who's that.
No, I completely agree. And sensitivity readers have been around for quite a few years now. This is a phenomenon that we've seen boil up. And what's interesting is exactly as you suggest, they tend to be set upon a work of literature before it even reaches print. And that is really sinister. I mean, it's essentially suggesting if something, with 1984 in mind, if it doesn't meet the party line on intersectionality, on all the things we're supposed to be sensitive about today, then it might never actually be published. And there's been cases of books certainly being unpublished. There was a case with an author, Kate Clanchy, in recent years in the UK, where because there was some outrage over a book that she'd published a couple of years ago, very trumped up, people dredging up quotes and taking them out of context. Again, sensitivity readers were given her book, and then as a consequence of this, it just ended up not being republished at all. So this is something which has already been going on in the publishing industry. It's not just children's books, it's throughout the whole piece as well. And so this is why it took the Roald Dahl case, because he's so beloved, to bring it up to the surface, but it's very entrenched at this point, definitely.